Hello everyone, it's Molly here from Your Future Forward, and I'm so excited to bring you this brand new series called the Apprentice Diaries. It's completely dedicated to apprentices in celebration of National Apprenticeship Week, and it's full of conversations with loads of different guests from top firms and top companies to give you an insight into what it's really like to be an apprentice. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you do enjoy them. That would really help us reach more people and help more people that are considering apprenticeships. So it's massively appreciated from our side. But for now, enjoy the episode. Just a super quick disclaimer that everything Keely is going to be talking about are views of her own from her own individual experience. For today's episode, I am joined by Keely, who is a creative apprentice at Warner Brother. And personally, I am so excited for this episode because I'm a creative at heart. I really enjoy hearing about this sort of stuff. And from what I've seen of your role already, Keely, it looks absolutely amazing. And Warner Brothers seems like such an exciting company. So I'm so excited to dive into this conversation and give the listeners a bit of an insight into what you do.
Cool. Thanks so much, Molly. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, amazing. So if you just kind of want to start off by giving an introduction to yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do and I guess how long you've been at Warner Brothers so far.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. So, hi everyone. My name's Keely, as Molly said, and yeah, my role at Warner Brothers is creative apprentice. So, I work on the consumer products team, sort of across all different sorts of categories, from fashion, retail, food, health and beauty, toys and games. So, lots of stuff that I get to work on. And I've been at Warner's now for about sort of a year and a half coming up to now. So I've been with the company since July 2019. So yeah, the time's flown by really.
I know, I can imagine, especially like working from home. I bet it's just, well, it's almost been a year since we started working from home. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
been
crazy.
crazy. So I guess as a creative apprentice, it's quite a broad term. When you come out of the end of your apprenticeship, and also when will that be? What qualification will you get at the end of it?
Yeah, sure. So basically, when I joined the company, my contract was for a year and a half. And that was to complete this design qualification. So I did a level two sort of graphics qualification that I studied for. And I recently completed that sort of end of last year. And so I managed to get that under my belt. And then fortunately, the company have sort of sponsored me to go on to do another apprenticeship. And so for the next year and a half, I'll be studying towards a project management sort of level 4, I think it is.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I'll gain sort of that out of it. So I guess I'll have like a bit of project management, a bit of kind of design. So yeah.
Yeah, I think project management's a really interesting thing to go into next as well, because
Mm.
again, it's quite a broad thing again, and I think elements of project management you'll always kind of undertake in every role that you go into. So yeah, smart move from you. It's nice to know that they're sponsoring that as well. And in terms of, I guess generally for Warner Brothers, is that something that's normal? Do they kind of give that option after your apprenticeship to stay on and study further? And also, is this like a one-off thing where you can kind of discuss it, or do they take on a group of apprentices that will move into this next thing as well?
Yeah, sure. So generally like it's a bit of like a one-off basis. Like it depends on each kind of person really. I think, you know, there's definitely been times where they have taken apprentices on and, you know, they're still with the company now, which is really nice to hear. But you know, I'm sure you're aware of this thing in sort of the corporate world, which is all to do with like headcount,
Yeah.
where sort of like if each team has budget for it, and they want to keep you on, then that's quite often the case and they can. But there's other times where the team might not have the space for it, or there's just not that role they can make available. So it kind of depends, sort of case by case. But yeah, I've just kind of got my fingers crossed to see if I can stay on, hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I guess a level 4 apprenticeship is what, like 2 years or maybe a little bit more. So you still got a bit of time left in the company, and hopefully we'll be back in the office at some point soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess going into a bit deeper about you, I'm just going to dive straight in because I saw on LinkedIn that you undertook your GCSEs and A levels, did really well by the looks of it, because all your grades are on LinkedIn and you
Oh,
got
thanks very
like
much.
A stars, A's. And I just really wanted to bring this up because I think there's the stereotype that you're probably aware of with apprenticeships, that they're either for people that can't get into university, for people that just aren't smart. And I just really
Yeah.
don't think that's the case. And I think it's a really interesting situation that you're in, because obviously you can talk about it in a bit more detail in a minute, but from what I can see is that apprenticeships are great. Obviously it's case by case for industry, right? And I think for a creative, for someone that's interested in design or anything else around that, if you can find apprenticeships like this, they're a great way to kind of get those practical skills. And if you studied something like graphic design at university, you would never get the experience that you've probably built up over the year and a half that you've been at Warner Brothers. So yeah, if you just want to dive into what that experience was like, how did you find the apprenticeship, and what did people around you think? Like, were your parents supportive of it, and teachers, things like that?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a really interesting one because I completely agree. Like at school, kind of apprenticeships that advertises this thing as like a backup if you can't kind of make it to uni, which I think is completely wrong. And for me, I did really enjoy school and I really enjoyed college. And throughout that time, they were so sort of pressuring you on looking at unis. And I actually remember we were all forced to make a UCAS application. It was like a compulsory thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think a turning point for me was I basically, like when I was at college, I did a bit of work experience at a marketing agency, just quite local to me in Southampton. And yeah, I ended up getting some experience there and getting a sense for what it was like to be in the real world, working on sort of real client projects, doing real design. And I think when you are a creative person and you want to pursue a creative career, getting that experience in real life and building up your portfolio through real sort of case studies is the best thing. It's not, it's so much better than sitting in a classroom and learning the theory behind it, if that makes sense. And I remember having a conversation with the CEO of the company, and he was saying how nowadays everyone's just got degrees. And so you kind of have to think, well, how are you going to stand out? And
Mm.
I think the key thing with that is through experience and working in the real world, and that's going to give you completely invaluable skills to what you could gain in a classroom. And that's not to say uni's bad or anything. I think uni's great and it serves its purpose, but I just think having real world experience and getting out there and building your portfolio is honestly the best thing you can do. And
Mm.
it's really helped me to grow as a designer more than I think it would if I was at uni, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think you raise a good point that, we're not we're not slamming university here. I think
Yeah,
it's still a good option, obviously, for certain things, but as a creative like yourself, that experience is key, and especially making you stand out. And I think creative's so situational and subjective, right? So when someone hires you, they have an ideal candidate, and it's not about you have so many qualifications. They want to see what work you've done, and they want to see what your
yeah,
style is. And yeah, that
completely.
kind of how you've evolved that, and different projects you've worked on. So when you talk about work experience, was this whilst you were studying your A levels, or was it after? Did you move straight onto an apprenticeship after your A levels?
Yeah, so what happened was I was in my first year of sixth form college studying my A levels, and I reached out to this agency and did like a 4-day placement with them. And then during that time, I was working on various little projects, and sort of the boss of the company said that they liked me and they liked the work I was doing, and sort of offered me like a part-time job, which I was so
Wow.
grateful for. And yeah, I was so grateful for the opportunity. So during my studies of my A levels, I used to go like once a week to the agency to work there, just like get involved on projects that were going on. And then I sort of volunteered my time during like summer and sort of Easter holidays to work there and just kind of get amongst it and try and get as much experience as I could. And this helped me so much like grow as a person and really help with my like graphics A levels as well, because I was picking up
Yeah.
techniques at the agency. And then sort of when I reached the end of my A levels, I was supposed to go on and do like an art foundation at my sixth form college. So it was kind of like an extra year where you can just do art and build up your portfolio. And I basically did that for about 2 weeks, and then I ended up dropping out because I really didn't enjoy it. I just didn't feel like it was for me, like, because I had that experience working in a real agency. I kind of understood how, how it kind of worked in the real world, and what I was learning in the classroom on the art foundation, it just like didn't add up to me. It was all
Mm.
quite like airy fairy, and you know,
Yeah.
for me, I'm just not into that kind of thing. I know a lot of people love it and completely accept that, but I think I prefer to work on projects that are more like real world and sort of
Yeah.
had sort of more like substance to them, if you like. And yeah, so I ended up dropping out, and I kind of approached like my boss at the time at the agency, and I said, look, I'm in this situation. I'm not enjoying this course. Like, is there any chance I could like go into a full-time graphic design position with the company? And of course, that was a big ask, and I wasn't expecting him to say yes by any means. But he sort of went away and thought about it, and then came back and said, we could have a position here for you. So I literally leapt at the opportunity, and
Yeah.
yeah, was so grateful. So I ended up working like as a full-time graphic designer for about a year and a half after finishing my A levels. So yeah, just sort of trying to gain as much experience as I could, really.
Yeah, and that's such an amazing position to be in, because I think for those people trying to figure things out, it's like, oh, okay, I'll get a job in retail or a part-time job here, but the fact that you've got it in an industry that you're really passionate about is amazing. So yeah, there's those opportunities don't come around very often, do they? So I'm not surprised you
No.
kind of like jumped in there. Um, and then obviously like you've that's obviously how you built up a lot of experience and a lot of things to show on maybe like an application for your apprenticeship. I imagine that's why you stood out amongst other candidates. But how did that transition of, okay, you've been in this company for a year and a half, you want to move on to something else, and why was that an apprenticeship?
Yeah, sure. So I think it got to a point where I'd been at the agency a fair amount of time, and I kind of got used to it, and I sort of started to question, like, how can I get better, and how can I improve, and kind of, yeah, become a better designer. And I think the key thing with my role at the agency was it was just myself and another designer who we were both kind of like juniors, really, and we were sort of running the department ourselves. And it was great because you could kind of really get involved in the projects and sort of thrown in the deep end at times,
A
like,
lot of
yeah,
responsibility. Yeah.
exactly. Sort of like running meetings and managing client projects, which was great. But at the same time, you've got no sort of senior person or no one around you that you can kind of learn from. And
Mm,
personally, I learn best off like other people and being in the right environment where I can ask questions and, kind of watch by what other
yeah.
people are doing. Um, so
And
yeah,
I
I was
guess
kind of,
it all comes down to like career progression as well, doesn't it?
yeah,
Once you feel like you're getting good at a position, well, this is what I've been told. Once you're not
yeah.
feeling like you're challenged anymore, is the moment that you should probably look for the next opportunity.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, definitely. That's exactly how I felt. And yeah, so it got to the point where I was like looking at my options, and I was thinking about uni at one point. I was like, could this be a chance where I, go and study for a few years? But I knew in my heart that didn't sit right with me, because I kind of felt like it would be a bit of a step back. And
mm,
I wanted to carry on working and learning if I could. So I was actually applying for various like junior designer roles around my area, and not really having much luck, to be honest. And it was one day I was out with my friend, and she said to me, "Oh, have you ever thought about apprenticeships?" And I was like, well, no, I haven't. Like, I'd never thought creative apprenticeships were a thing. You're never talked about it at school or like college. So yeah, I just sort of like on a whim had a Google of like creative apprenticeships or design apprenticeships. And yeah, sure enough, the position at Warner Brothers came up, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Like, it
yeah.
just sounds like so much fun. And yeah, sort of like applied for it. And then yeah, here we are, really.
And here you are today. You've got it. How many people applied, and was it really competitive? And how many people did they actually take on as well?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was just over 500 people that
Wow.
applied,
Okay. Yeah.
and they only took on one person. There was only one
Oh
role
my
available, which
gosh.
is it's crazy. I can't believe I'm here, really.
Yeah, well
Um,
done you. That's
thank
incredible.
you, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, so how is that experience, or was that experience being the only apprentice I imagine in your team, were you set to one team or was it a rotation sort of
Yeah.
process? How did that structure work with your apprenticeship?
So I'm in one position and in the same team my
Yeah.
whole time, and it's a team of about 25 people in total, um, sort of in this department of the office. So yeah, at Warner Brothers, you're not on rotation. You kind of have your set role in your
Yeah.
team, and you're in that role throughout your placement or your apprenticeship. Yeah.
Okay, great. And yeah, I guess being the only one, how was that adjustment? Because I at Google, there was an intake of like 23 of us. So we had a
Yeah.
really cool group. And I think that community was really nice. And I find it hard to imagine being the only apprentice, especially in a big company like Warner Brothers as well. I know they do different apprenticeship schemes because I actually had the chance when pre-COVID times, our education provider works with Warner Brothers as well as Google. So I
Oh,
remember
cool.
one day we did like an apprentice office swap day almost. So half
Oh,
of
nice.
them came to Google and then we went to Warner Brothers and it was like all the Batman figures, the Looney Tunes. It was such a cool
Yeah.
office. So yeah, so I've been really excited to speak to you as well because the office and seemed amazing, all the work. But yeah, what was that adjustment like? Did it feel overwhelming being the only apprentice coming in with all these experienced people?
Yeah. So sorry, basically I was the only apprentice on my team, but I think in total they take on about 30 apprentices and then like
Yeah.
sort of 40 or 50 interns. So even though
Oh
I was the
wow,
only
okay.
apprentice on my team, there's like a whole community of interns and apprentices, and we're all so sociable.
Yeah.
So like in your lunch breaks or after work, you can like meet up or go for some drinks after work, which is so nice. So you're
Yeah.
definitely not alone in that sense. Like you're all kind of in the same boat, young people in this company. But being in my team, like it was honestly so nice. Like everyone was so welcoming. On my first day, I remember everyone sort of took me for lunch and like made
Oh,
real efforts to get to know me, and I had like one-to-ones with everyone throughout the
yeah.
week. And everyone was honestly so lovely and so friendly. Yeah, I just can't believe how lucky I am to be on such a lovely team. So yeah, it definitely didn't feel too overwhelming because they put me at ease so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel fortunate in that sense.
I think as well, when we're at this stage in our career, just trying to figure things out and like, early stages of our career and our career progression, it's really important to have that support network around you. And I think,
Yeah.
especially within an apprenticeship, when you're just learning things, it's so important to have supportive people around you in that community. And I guess just in general, you kind of alluded to it there with the apprentice group and your team, but in general, what's the culture like in Warner Brothers? Is it a lot about the people? Do the teams collaborate much internally?
Mm. Yeah, the people are so lovely. I think that's a key thing about Warner Brothers is they really sort of take on people that are so positive and
Mm,
just really friendly, and you can bump into anyone around the office and have a chat with them. Like it's just that sort of culture, and you're not going to have anyone that's sort of like a bad egg, if you like. I haven't come across
yeah,
anyone like that, which is great. And yeah, so we do collaborate sometimes with other teams as well. Like there's an intern that I talk to quite a lot on the marketing and franchise team, and we have quite a lot of involvement with them, as well as like other creative departments within the company. So yeah, it's
yeah,
really nice to do that and sort of get to know other people and network throughout the company,
mhm.
which is really really great to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think elaborating a bit more on your team, you mentioned you're in consumer products, and I know from the outside of, not really understanding the design world that much, when I think of Warner Brothers, you just think of the production and the films that they make and all that sort of stuff. And I think it'd be really interesting for listeners to hear about the behind the scenes. So in your sort of consumer products team, what do you do and what kind of projects do you work on? And also elaborating on the other creative teams maybe internally that you would work with and those projects. That'd be really cool.
Sure. So, in my department for consumer products, it's basically quite a lot of merchandise that you see that's with Warner Brothers brands. So, anything with like Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, Friends. Yeah, sort
Wow.
of those are like our core franchises, as well as DC. So, like Batman,
Yeah.
Superman, Wonder Woman. Honestly, there's like thousands of properties that we have. The list goes on. It's crazy. Um, yeah, so we work on a lot of product like that. So I get involved quite a lot with the fashion team, so working on apparel for key partners that we have, such as Primark and like George, Asda. So if you were to like walk into Primark and see like a Harry Potter t-shirt or some
I was going to
Batman
say, as soon as
pajamas,
you said that, my mind went to like Oxford Street Primark with that massive Harry Potter section and just all that stuff. So you're part of the team behind that.
Yeah, so Kev on our team, he's a senior designer. He created that. He did like the installation design for it, which is so cool. And he also did like this Friends Cafe in the Primark in Manchester. So it's like a complete replica of the Friends Cafe. So yeah, it's quite crazy how much our team has like such a huge influence on things like that, which thousands of people will see. Which is really cool.
I think it's really nice how in your team, although it's graphic design and a lot of it might be digital, it's really nice that you can have those tangible sort of results that you can see on the shop floor and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool opportunity to be able to work on things like that as an apprentice as well. And I think it's just nice to highlight things like that, because you don't know about a lot of the time when you're applying for apprenticeships, you don't really know what your role is going to be, and you don't know what projects you're going to work on directly. So it's great to get an insight into the internal works of it all, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, one thing I will say is like I definitely didn't think I'd be so involved in projects as I am. Like I thought going into the role and being an apprentice, I kind of just be like in the corner doing like the odd little jobs that kind of no one wants to do, like as like a junior. But it's actually quite amazing how much like the team involve me in stuff and how much influence that I can have on projects, which is really cool to see. And one thing I would say is it's kind of like what you make it. So kind of what you put in, you'll get out. So if you're willing to take on work and you want to ask questions and you could say to your manager, you know, oh, that project sounds amazing, like can I get involved in that? Chances are they're going to say yes and they'll want to include you on the journey. So it's just about kind of putting yourself out there as well.
Yes, completely. I'm such an advocate for that. Like what you put in is what you get out, and being in a group of 23 apprentices, you can kind of see that directly as well, of what everyone else is doing and different projects and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's a massive point to raise. And I guess just to finish off on, it'd be great to hear what you think has been the biggest impact from your apprenticeship and like the biggest takeaway. So for anyone listening, just a bit of advice of, I guess, what you would like to tell them if they're considering an apprenticeship.
I think, to be honest with you, it sounds quite dramatic. It is the best decision that I've made, because I think it's just changed my life completely and really like made me into the person that I am today. And you know, doing an apprenticeship, you're going into sort of like the chances are maybe your first job, and I just think it's a really amazing way that you can learn and work and, you know, pick up skills that you wouldn't be able to like in a classroom. So like communication skills and networking skills, which are really great. And it just sort of, it's helped me tremendously to understand what I want to do in the future. And just it's been so invaluable, really. I can't really recommend it more.
I don't think I've met an apprentice yet either that's kind of regretted their decision of choosing an apprenticeship. Obviously there's pros and cons to every decision we make in life, but apprentices always seem pretty happy with their decisions. So my advice as well would just be to just go for it if you're considering it. And I think for me as well, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's been so interesting to hear about what you get up to at Warner Brothers and what really happens behind the scenes of Friends Cafe and all these different exciting things. So thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast, Keely. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
If you did enjoy the episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share with any friends or family that you think might find this useful. There are so many other episodes with incredible guests, so don't forget to check those out. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Your Future Forward, where we share loads of different career advice and tips to help you navigate this working world. Thanks again for listening to this episode, and I really hope you enjoyed it.